1 minute Raila was asking you to hop into a chopper to Turkana for a funeral out of nowhere, and then the next minute you're with him for a TV interview in another place. The interviews he'll book on his own, the interviews he'll ask you to book for him, but he's a man who kept time. Raila never kept people waiting, apart from rallies, because you have to let the crowds, of course, fill up stadiums or open spaces. But Raila Odinga kept time, so we never kept him waiting. It's only once that we kept him waiting, and he was not very happy about it. But he was a man who kept time. But he was a hands-on human being, yes.
Okay. You can see there are live pictures from Valley Road in full military honors, because this is a state funeral, and also there's a 7 days mourning period that was declared by the president. That's a live pictures from Valley Road, and as the entourage makes its way to the Nyayo National Stadium for the state funeral service. Dignitaries and all guests are expected to be seated by 8:30. And then the funeral service will start at 9 for 2 hours, and then the viewing will continue thereafter for as long as possible. That's why you see that we'll keep those pictures on the screen for you, so that you just keep following the entourage. They just left from the Lee Funeral Home, heading straight to the Nyayo National Stadium. Let me bring in now Maliba on this as well. Maliba, what are some of the greatest lessons you think, and I'll categorize this: politicians, the people, leaders, and young people? What kind of lessons, let's start with the young guys, that they can draw from the life and times of Raila Odinga?
I think for so many people, they actually think that Raila has actually been in the politics for the longest time. Raila was first elected when I think he was 47. This is the role he played from, of course, what is written in the, what I would call the footnotes of history at that particular point, from 1980 to coming all the way to about when we are going to the Mlolonga. At that particular time, there's too much silence because, of course, he's in and out of detention. So properly, Raila goes to parliament when he's I think 47, in 1992. So for so many people, including people who've been in politics out there, you will actually realize that it's not late to make change. When people speak about actually people having started early, he started early, but the first time he gets into politics, he's actually 47. Today, if you spoke about somebody who's 47, it looks like, I think that's the age when Barack Obama became senator or president, if I'm not so wrong, at that particular point. So allow me to look at it from this way. Number one, Raila was a champion of young people. It is during Raila's time when he got into the executive space that we started having these free things. Like, for example, I've just told you about how we, at that particular point, were able to get the National Youth Council, which somehow subsequent regimes have ensured that after our election, it's become difficult for there being any other sitting council. The government has made excuses over time, but Raila did not find it difficult for us to actually get to the National Youth Council. At a point when it looked like it was, there had been Yes Youth Can. At that particular point, it was, quote unquote, funded by the West to destabilize the government. But then we had been trying to have a way of a structured youth engagement. He pushed through the National Youth Council. And I know that because I was on the front line on the other side to push and ensure that young people have got a platform. And many times I actually ended up in a meeting. Like I've told you, my first engagement with him, one-on-one, was I had organized a demo that went to his office and blocked him, and people like Yogo and the others were not so happy, but eventually they worked around us and ensured that we will work on that. Secondly, he pushed through issues. That's why he brought in somebody like Jane Moringi, a youth advisor. And Jane will really tell you about the many long nights and strategies that Baba really pushed to ensure that young people have got a place. And he was never afraid of young people actually coming into spaces. I am now old enough to know that politicians can actually be very insecure with young people. Baba will always open the door for young people. So when you speak about the first national youth policy, it was under his desk, by the way. At that particular point, I think he brought in Paulo Tuoma, now the governor for Busia, to shepherd that. Not that it was easy. Dealing with young people has never been easy for any generation. He always opened the door. He always allowed the youthfulness for young people to actually go out and do things differently. And that is why you realize that he has always been the youth candidate. Raila has always been the youth candidate. Of course, youth in and of itself is not a vote block, but a lot of times young people in this country over time, and I'm talking about millennials, and even those who came ahead of us, slightly ahead of us. I'm talking about the older generation like Kina Cyprian Nyamwamu, Simba Arati and the others. And then now we, the rest of us who are the proper millennials. And even for Gen Zs, there's so much really aligned with his way of thinking. Secondly, Raila for me is the most tribalized person I've ever met. When he became the prime minister, that is the first time, even though I had gone to school properly, I saw some tribes in government offices. And I became a very frequent person within second and third floor at BP and Shell House at that particular point. You met guys from Northeastern, now playing more significant roles. You met people coming from different places. And there are so many people who, if it were not for Raila, this country will not know them, for example. Today you have got a government spokesperson. The first time I saw Maura, it was at the Prime Minister's office. And so many other people I see today. There are also people that I know that at that particular point looked like they were just stubborn kids. Osoro, for example. Osoro, Kibagendi, Sifuna, way before they became the people that were here. Baba always created space for young people. And for divergence opinion, I know, and I think some of those people really need, well, once we've mourned and we've relaxed, you will need to find people like Kyogo, for example, people like Jane Moringi, and quite a number of those people that were dealing with Baba at that particular point, and just see how it will work around. So the lessons from Baba is, number one, resilience. Yeah. Resilience, very, very important, that it's never too late. He will always tell you, bado kuna risasi moja, and we can always do things. You can, as in, for him, resilience was his standard. I think that is why he was even an Arsenal fan.
What are you trying to say about it?
Then, of course, the belief in systems. Yeah. Baba loved to have systems that work. Somehow, as much as he will try to smuggle some of us into spaces of influence and stuff, like, for example, in 2017, I insisted that I would run, and still worked at the strategy office. The team at that particular point, we can't have somebody working in the strategy office along the strategy chain and also running. But when there was too much, of course, you go and defend yourself. Sometimes he behaved like a lecturer. Like, if you are to get these marks, you have to convince me. It's not just what you've written. Convince me that you need these marks. Yeah. And he will actually allow you. So he believed in young people. He believed in systems. A lot of people do not know about principles. But then he will take time, especially when young people come with fire. There's the youthful fire that a lot of times, that is just the experience every young person has, I mean. He will still listen and then throw you down with a little bit of history and lessons. If there's the place of culture, tradition, respecting our diversity, and then looking at history, for him it was very, very important. And I remember at some point him took time after we had spoken a lot of English and jargons and buzzwords about youth empowerment and everything else. And then he listened to us, and then he told us that if you do not know where you've come from, you definitely do not know where you are, and you don't know where you are going.
Trevor, let me tell you, I mean, my friend here, let me tell you, in 2017, we sat in a room with Honorable Raila Odinga, with Mohamed Ali. At that particular time, we were working on a youth program called Kikao for Raila Odinga. Then Mohamed Ali put his case to Honorable Raila Odinga and said, I want to run for Nyali Member of Parliament. And Mzee tried to convince him. He told him, no, you come with me to State House when you win these elections. But Mohamed was very insistent. He said, I really, really want to run. Then Mzee said, fine, you go ahead and run. And when I tried to put a case for myself as well, because I also wanted to run back home, he said, no, you're coming with me to State House. We never go to State House. But I mean, that was Raila Odinga for you. In 2022,